They don't really need more people coming and talking to them about it because everybody knows what the problem is. Like a lot of other issues, like education, like healthcare, like road infrastructure, which is the cousin to water infrastructure, like economic development. When you have declining population and declining economy, things are not only expensive, they're much more costly, not just in dollar signs, but politically and in allocating limited resources. When you have smaller populations that have been declining for years, their infrastructure is much more costly, not just the dollar sign, but now you've got to tell politicians to allocate money for areas that electorally don't matter as much as either. There's this great wordplay going on in the state of West Virginia. When you allocate money for the Panhandle, or you allocate money for Morgantown or Charleston, or places like Bridgeport that have good economic development and places going, even places like Summersville, my hometown, where economically they're getting by and a little bit of growth because the hospital's there and tourism and the state park and things like that, and they got a road going through it. You hear words like investment, and we're going to invest, and we're going to build up, and we're growing, even if it's marginal, like in places in Summersville, or exponential growth, like places in Martinsville and in the Panhandle areas. Growth, investment. When you get into the coal fields and you got to start spending a lot of money on water infrastructure, though, now we got to talk about being cost efficient and being stewards of money and being careful with things. We hear the same thing with school consolidation. We hear the same things with roads. We hear the same thing with healthcare and welfare programs. When it's the poorer areas that need a lot of money but aren't, and people don't want to use the word worth it, but electorally, it's a harder lift to try to justify it. Now, all of a sudden, we got to be fiscally responsible. And the governor and people that say that have a point. They're not wrong. There's only so much money to go around. And poor people have to be subsidized. Rural people have to be subsidized. Otherwise, they don't exist. Now, you have the whole argument of, well, should they live rurally in the first place? We'll set that aside for the minute, because if they're too poor to get by, they're too poor to move to. People don't want to talk about that part of it either. But water is something's a little different. Yeah, it's a commodity. Yeah, you got to pay for it. Yeah, you got to have infrastructure, but you cannot live without water. So it does quickly become more of a moral issue than just a policy issue, because people have to have water and you got to get it to them. And it's not cheap. It's not